Broken Live, Woody Page, Israel Gutierrez, Professor Kevin Blackstone, Pablo Astori. You guys ready?
Yeah.
No distraction, domination, epidemic, wedding crasher. We got 10 topics, only one winner. Let's do this.
Yeah. Delayed reaction. Great dance.
Welcome to Around the Horn. Here's Tony Reali.
Welcome back around. Bad news, fellas. Our Friendster page is dead.
Oh no, we told me
Never coming back. But check us out on Instagram. ATH on ESPN's the name. Not the photos you need, but the photos you deserve.
Of course.
Again, ATH on ESPN the name. Very important. Anything that ends with a horn on Instagram.
Yeah. Don't.
Not good for a search. Let's go.
No partner.
It's the first word.
All right. Donald Sterling going full Sterling with Anderson Cooper last night. Not sure it's advisable ever to go full Sterling, by the way. The day of the biggest game in winning franchise history. That's when it was taped. Tonight, the latest biggest game in franchise history. And in anticipation of Game 5, Doc Rivers, of course, having to continue to answer questions about Donald Sterling. Israel, they're coming off the great win. You think tonight will be about that momentum or the continued Sterling distraction?
I think for Doc Rivers, it'll be, he'll have to deal with the Sterling distraction. The other guy should stay away from it. It's a sad man, and it was a sad interview, so I'm going to stay away from it. But in terms of this game, you start to think that maybe this momentum that the Clippers have from that comeback win might help them, going into Oklahoma City to win that game. But there's been so many examples over the years of teams that have done just that, made a big comeback, and then failed to follow that up with a win. And most memorable to me was in 2002 when the Boston Celtics came back from, I think, 21 points down to the New Jersey Nets, and the New Jersey Nets went on to win the next 3 games in that series. So there's not a whole lot there in terms of carryover. I do think the Oklahoma City Thunder have been very good at responding to losses from the Grizzlies series to this one, and they'll do it again.
Woody Page.
Well, I don't believe in momentum. What I believe in is that great duo, ebb and flow. And I think you'll see that once again that Oklahoma City will regain its stature and they will deal with the fact that Chris Paul move that at times in the second half made some problems for them. I think that Durant, as the best player in this series, will emerge once again. In regard to the Sterling comments, the Clippers dealt with that. They know there's going to be waves, additional waves that will happen. And they're just going to that distraction's not going to be a part of the series.
Ebb and flow from Mr. Page. Kevin.
Yeah, I don't think Sterling's going to be any more of a distraction to this series or to the NBA. I think that's been shoved away at arm's length now, and it's the 4th ring in a 3-ring circus. And I do think the Thunder bounced back. I think Izzy's right on. They've shown that ability in the last series and in this series. I also think they have not only the best player in this series in Kevin Durant, but the 2 best players in the series. I think Westbrook has been absolutely fantastic. Has 3 triple-doubles now in the postseason. Nobody else in the league has any. So I think that they'll respond with their home crowd behind them, and I think that this 7-game series that everybody thought would go 7 games will go 7 games, and they'll prevail at home.
And Pablo?
Well, it's kind of stunning that Donald Sterling giving interviews the day of games isn't more of a distraction, given that he's your deranged, racist, billionaire owner still. I think that he could have made life harder for them if he had asked of the Clippers, why did you take my money for so long if you hated me so much? And there would have been answers to that, but there would have provoked a back and forth from Doc Rivers and Chris Paul and all the actual players. That said, he did not ask that, didn't come close to asking that or doing anything really smart. And so the Clippers, I think, can, in fact, recreate the performance they had from the last game. Not in terms of momentum, but in terms of Chris Paul guarding Kevin Durant when Durant gets the ball too late in the shot clock for him to pass out of double and triple teams. And I think if Jamal Crawford is the guy who's shooting 48% and 18 points in those Clipper wins, that's how you get the upper hand in these games.
But you think Paul on Durant is something Doc will employ more in this game?
It worked well for the last game. I don't see why he would deviate.
Izzy, you agree with that?
No, I don't. It was an act of desperation. It worked well at the time. It threw the Thunder off, but this is the thing about playoff series. It's one adjustment after the next, And they've had time to practice it now, and if they see it again, they'll be better prepared for it.
Guys, we all anticipated a 7-game series. You got 2 very good teams, and they've all made adjustments, as was just pointed out. I think we'll see isolated spots where Paul will do it because they got to do 2 things: deny and play defense. And if they do that, they will shut down Durant.
And Blackstone at the horn.
And they also ran some double teams at it when Chris Paul was out there. I think that Kevin Durant would welcome a mouse in his house.
Yeah, that's true.
So clean sweep here for the Thunder in OKC. Writing it down. The picks you you make equal the mutes you take. We'll move on.
I don't like the sound of that.
Now to Jose Fernandez, and this just stinks. Torn UCL, Tommy John surgery recommended. The latest in the plague of pitching injuries this year. 33 Tommy John surgeries in majors and minors since February. And since we just celebrated the 40th anniversary of the surgery, look at this graph that Bill Petty of Gallup put together. How concerned should Major League Baseball be about this, Pablo?
They should be very concerned because this is a problem that's fundamental to the concept of the sport. Guys throwing baseballs overhand is something we haven't really done a very good job of understanding. This is as if Blake Griffin or Kevin Durant got hurt dribbling a basketball. This is something they have to do. It's unavoidable, and you can't predict it. So the question is, what does baseball already understand? And the unfortunate reality is that they don't understand very much. They need to go big data on this. They need to deploy the smartest minds to try and categorize every variable, whether it's biomechanics, whether it's the construction of your elbow, whether it's your throwing motion, whether it's the time of day, all of those things. Put that into a big regression and try and figure out, backwards engineer it, what the commonalities are between guys getting hurt, because there's really very little information.
This is almost
that's already
comparable
out
to
there.
what the NFL has to do with concussions and head injuries, right?
In terms of research, yes, you got to go as scientific as you can to try and understand the problem.
KB, Professor, is that how you see it?
Well, Pablo, I'm all for science, but I'm also for not spending a lot of money where it doesn't need to be spent. And quite frankly, I think that you can just look at the data and you can see that more and more guys are throwing harder and harder, more consistently, and at a younger age now. You look at the average age of these guys getting hurt this year, and it's 26 years old, and the answer is they are throwing that much harder. We look at Fernandez, and we used to marvel at the fact when a guy hit 94 or 95 on the gun. He averages 95 miles per hour in his fastball, which is why he's striking out so many people. So that's what they have to look at, the fact that people are throwing harder and harder in early and early age and putting all that stress on their arm.
This is interesting, though, Kevin, because you know this. Fernandez, I mean, you could almost accuse the Marlins of bathing him over the last couple of years. He had only thrown over 100 pitches in 11 starts, Israel. You've covered the you're aware of the Marlins. You're there in Miami right now, Israel. I almost won't get to that one.
Geographically proximate.
What's happening here?
Well, this is the point. I mean, you talked about how they've babied him, and yet it's still the same thing with Strasburg, and he still gets hurt. By the time they get to the majors, that's not the problem. The problem is younger, and you can go all big data, but Pablo, I'm looking at regular size data right on the screen in front of us right before we started talking, and you see that spike in UCL injuries that happened after the sort of steroid era really hit its peak with, you know, McGuire and Sosa and Barry Bonds all hitting those home runs. You know, when kids are younger, they say, well, we have to throw harder. We have to throw more often. We have to be better than those guys, and I don't think it's a coincidence that that's when the spike started. So now that maybe we're backing off of the steroid era now, maybe now we can go grassroots and just say, hey, you don't have to throw that hard. Learn how to pitch. When your body develops, then you can throw hard.
Woody Page.
Good points all, guys. I would like to just add a couple of things here. Pitching year-round, and we're seeing that from younger players. And in high school, if you look at it over a 3-year period, 883 cases of Tommy John surgery. There's something vitally wrong. Yes, concussions are life-threatening. I think we're talking about career-threatening here, and you do have to do something. The Orthopedic Surgeons of America are investigating, Pablo, and I think that we're going to see some results pretty soon. And in Japan, they have reduced significantly the number of Tommy John surgeries by going to a 6-man rotation. I would just throw this in, no pun intended. I would take the gun off the scoreboard because pitchers are looking at it and they're going, oh, I want to throw 95 miles an hour.
But the gun has been on the scoreboard for 50 years, right? I mean, we've done that. And it's interesting that you bring up Japan, because in Japan, they view pitch counts differently than they do in America, don't they? Pablo, back in.
There clearly is a cultural factor here, but in terms of velocity, in terms of the guys who've had Tommy John surgery, the percentage of guys who can throw 100 miles an hour on their fastball since 2008, 77 guys, a quarter of them have had Tommy John surgery, about the average for the rest of baseball, according to Jeff Passan at Yahoo
But these guys also become expendable because Tommy John surgery has resulted in 83% of those people coming back to the major leagues and being successful.
Glad you brought that up, Kevin, because the other thing is the perception of this surgery, right? It's almost like players want to have this surgery before they even embark on their careers, knowing that they can bounce back from it and not need it once they start their career. Page 7, Gutierrez 9, Blackistone 9, Torrey 12. We've been Horn. Taking a break. Buy or sell next. And coming up, what happened? Stan Van Gundy, the choice of a new generation. And also,
I want all the people out there to get in front of a pitching machine, put it on 94, and just hold your ribs up and take one.
Oh, thanks, Tori. I think we're all set. It's all set here.
I will stick to being in a studio.
Illegal hands to the face from an umpire. Next.
Buy or sell.
Tori 12, Blackistone and Gutierrez 9, page 7. And I say again, Stan Van Gundyâ, the choice of a new generation. Talks reportedly intensifying with Golden State and reportedly intensifying with Detroit with coach and basketball operation duties on the line there. That's Adrian Wojnarowski reporting that. Golden State not willing to offer that, reportedly. What's better for Stan Van here, Woody?
Well, on a couple of levels, you go to Golden State, a better team in position to go farther in the playoffs. Go to Detroit, a project, have to start from the bottom. Plus, I'd rather live in Golden State than in Detroit State.
Well, part of the problem is you have this ownership group that seems to be intrusive, seems to be meddling a little bit, and that's why he would want sort of full control over there so he doesn't have that type of conflict. But in terms of Detroit, look, you put Stan Van Gundy there. He's not a good coach. He's a great coach. And if you put him there, they'll be significantly better than they were, so it's not starting from the bottom.
Why would you go coach a team that hasn't been in the playoffs for half a decade when you could go coach a team that is a playoff perennial team now with one of the most exciting backcourts in the NBA, a guy like Stephen Curry who you can build around? Who cares if you don't have front office duties? You don't need them in
Golden State. You're calling the Warriors perennial playoff team.
Right now they have become that, absolutely.
Okay, how many playoff series have they won in the last 20 years?
I didn't say win. I said perennial playoff team.
I will not go that far, but I will say that the pieces in Golden State are better. He likes to spread the floor, run pick and rolls, the stretch four, something he basically pioneered. However, being able to be in the class of a Doc Rivers, a Greg Popovich, in terms of being your own boss, is a rare privilege. I would take that job for John.
Duties here. We're talking about Popovich. We're talking about Doc Rivers here.
Yeah, that is the highest.
Israel, you're very bullish on Stan, man. You think he's a that caliber coach?
Absolutely, I think he is. Look what he did with Miami before he left, with the rookie Dwayne Wade. Look what he did in Orlando.
Okay. No championships, though. We'll move on. Buy or sell, too. Cleveland Browns saying their starting quarterback is not Johnny Manziel.
He's not the starter, okay? He's not the starter. Brian Hoyer's our starting quarterback. Johnny's the backup. They'll compete. If Johnny wins the job, fine. If not, Brian will be the quarterback.
Buy or sell has them right there, Israel.
Oh, I'm selling it. Look, it's one thing to say, hey, Johnny Manziel, just be humble and come in and compete. It's another thing to just flat out try to knock him down just because you think he's got this humility issue, that he's just too exuberant and too much of a character. I think they're doing a little bit too much and probably need to just back off and not anger him.
I understand you own the team, but why don't you let your football people you've hired make football decisions? Why would you say this about Johnny Manziel, a guy with a Heisman Trophy under his arm, a guy who's been a star of college football the last couple of years? If that's the case, then why bring him in? You wouldn't draft him to be a backup.
But I don't think Johnny Manziel is that concerned, because this is kind of hilariously transparent posturing. He's having to say Cleveland isn't Hollywood, invoking the kind of blue-collar, hard hat, work lunch pail kind of thing. We all know that Johnny Manziel is going to be the starter. This is trying to evoke the Cleveland of yore for some reason.
You call it a preemptive strike in some way. How about you, Woody?
To appease the fans.
Well, forgive Haslam. He went to the University of Tennessee, so we all know what that's all about. But you draft Johnny Manziel to bring excitement, entertainment, a new direction for the Browns, and you're saying he's a backup. We know better than that. You put him in there as a starting quarterback and see what happens.
You guys already heard what Torrey Hunter thinks about fastballs to his wrist. Bud Norris put it there 2 pitches after allowing a home run. That led to this led to that. And then umpire Paul Nauert, a hand to the face of Hunter while breaking it up. Hunter says he didn't mind that. He's buddies with the umpire. How should baseball feel about it, Kevin?
They shouldn't feel good about it at all. How patronizing an image that is to see him patting him on the face like that. I'm surprised that he didn't have to get up out of the dirt. Torrey Hunter would have every right, I think, to go after him in that situation.
I'm sympathetic to Torrey Hunter on the level of him being a batter in the American League and the pitcher basically being insulated generally, but I agree with KB. The face in any sort of workplace environment should be a no-touch zone. No pulling on your ear, no bopping on your nose. That's infantilizing and weird.
No touching?
No touch.
Woody Page.
You guys are talking about a 94-mile-per-hour fastball, that being the problem. That love tap on the face, that is no problem. He was just having some fun with him. Why in the world would you investigate that?
I don't think an umpire would do that unless he knew he had some sort of relationship with that player. Torrey Hunter said he called him his buddy. I don't think it's that big a deal. It looks bad, but I don't think it's a big deal whatsoever. The little love tap to the face. Come on.
Score 17, Blackistone 14, Gutierrez 13, page 10. First to go. What's the last word, Woodman?
Well, I feel like that's sort of a love tap that you perform. What are you doing?
What is that?
Lightning round next. Coming up. 49. And counseling on husband sister-in-law kinships on LeBron's night. And game 7 tonight. Puck night! Score 17, Blackistone 14, Gutierrez 13. Anybody's ball game in the lightning round. 49 on Solange Day, but what sealed the game was the pass. It led to the pass. It led to the box 3, and the defense on Joe Johnson. They used to call me ISO Joe. Now they still call me ISO Joe. What's your take, your hot sports take on LeBron's night, Israel?
I'm in favor of this guy's shot chart. If you look at it, it's 11 makes inside the paint. He was going really hard at Paul Pierce, who had a few things to say that he probably shouldn't have said before the game. You know, talking about how he wants to cover LeBron. He wanted no part of that last night.
I love him in the last couple minutes, how he sealed the deal. He makes a bucket. He D's up Joe Johnson on 2 possessions when he had 5 fouls on him, and then he made the pass that led to the pass, which was ultimately the game winner.
You question the Nets' possession there, going ISO Joe there, Pablo?
Yeah, I do. Jason Kidd drawing that up. I mean, yes, he had 5 fouls, but come on. I wouldn't do that if I was him. My hot sports take, LeBron James is the human turbo button. He is the guy who can be the best offensive player in the world whenever he wants to be. 34 or 49 points on drives to the rim. 100% of those drives ended with points by LeBron, not passing to anybody else.
And then there was that possession where he was in the paint. He was 11 and 12 in the game in the paint, and he could have put it up, forced the shot, kicked it out to Chalmers, kicked it out to Bosch. Rangers Penguins, game 7 in 2 hours. Lundqvist, $5,000 lighter after the most recent squirt of this postseason. To game 7, KB. Who do you like and why?
Well, you know what? I always look at big data when it comes to the NHL, and the big data that jumps out to me is that in 87 years, the Rangers have never come back from being down 3-1 in a series, and they've never beaten the Penguins in the playoffs. Give me the Penguins.
Torre?
Who is your data, KB? I'm curious about that. I would have this stat, which is Henrik Lundqvist could be the first goalie in NHL history to win 5 straight Game 7s. He's also 9-2 when the Rangers are facing elimination. 1.35 goals against average. Money on that.
Israel.
Who is your data and what does he do? Look, I actually think the Rangers are going to come back on this one, and I think they're going to sort of spray cold water on all the Penguins. I mean, there's going to be so much pressure on the Penguins to avoid this sort of reputation that they have for not coming up big since 2009. I think it's going to finally get to them.
I got a great reference here about dataism, but I'm not going to go for it right now. Dataism. Gutierrez. Next to go with last word.
I'm going to spend some time familiarizing myself with a team called the Marlins that you speak of that are here in Miami. I'm not sure who they are.
You did cover the Marlins. You never covered Jose Fernandez. That's
correct.
Okay, good.
Florida Marlins.
That's done. Sorry. Showdown next. 2 enter, only 1 will leave. And straight ahead, Andrew Luck joining this couple in holy matrimony. What?
Sunglasses.
The professor, Kevin Blackistone. The pupil, Pablo Estori. 3 quick showdown space times for the winner. Good luck to you both. Called up in April, dominating in May. Devontae Smith-Pelly and John Gibson have the Ducks 1 win away from the Western Conference Finals. Kings need to win Wednesday to 4-7. Wild need to beat the Blackhawks tonight to 4-7 Thursday. Canadians last night, 4-7 tomorrow. PK Subban says he can't wait to suck everything out of Boston. Which series is most compelling to you, KB?
Oh, it's got to be the old school one. That would be Boston and Montreal. The 9th time these two have played a Game 7. That's what I want to see. All this other stuff, that's new school stuff. That's for
Well, the fact that we've seen it over and over again kind of makes me less interested. With the Ducks 4-3 thriller the other night, the geographic rivalry, give me the new stuff.
They're calling guys up in April. They're starring for them in May. They should be... Points, Pablo Torre. We'll move on. Showdown 2, more Cleveland Browns. They own this show now. Joe Hayden says he signed long-term, $68 million, 45 guaranteed. That's what Hayden said. That would be more than what Richard Sherman just got, most of any player on defense in the NFL. Pablo, what does that new deal tell you?
Well, it tells me that money, in fact, as Richard Sherman has hypothesized, is respect. And the Browns recognize that. They're guaranteeing so much of this deal. It's coming off of the bad Josh Gordon news. They want to make a claim.
What it tells me is that Joe Hayden, my DC dog, doesn't understand what is killing old media. Don't tweet out your own contract. We're supposed to report that. first.
Maybe he's an aspiring reporter, Kevin. Okay, well,
think?
get the point. We'll move on. Showdown 3. Provide the caption for Andrew Luck joining this lovely couple in holy matrimony, Kevin. Go ahead.
Why are all of these people crowding around me? I'm Andrew Luck. I just want to get my photo taken by myself for once in this city. Good grief. Go
Here's
away,
my
people.
caption. The wedding industrial complex is a sham. You spend all of this money, and the thing that makes your day is a guy randomly walking through your picture. That's what makes it. You could have saved so much money just stand out on those courthouse steps.
2 kids looking for love in a topsy-turvy world. They see Andrew Luck, and they get a photo with him. That's the first photo in your wedding album, isn't it?
Yes.
Great, yeah.
Oh, no.
And you invite him to the party afterwards. Pablo Torre's going to get the FaceTime. 30 seconds.
Well, Around the Horn has its own Instagram page, and so does Yasiel Puig, who, for the first time, did something I can immediately relate to. We had heard stories about how this guy is being chased from cartels and all this stuff, and then he posts an Instagram video of himself celebrating, yelling hallelujah, a grand slam in a video game. That's something that I've done. I love the fact that Yasiel Puig, who's this freak athlete, is doing the exact same thing at home, playing a video game, and it reminds me of a challenge that I wanted to make. If any athletes want to play me in their video game of choice, I will let you be yourself, and I will defeat you. Nerlens Noel has felt that pain. Paul George is going to feel that pain. I have his gamer tag.
Thank you very much, Pablo. A challenge to everybody. That's going to do it, folks. Thanks for coming around. On a 23.5-hour break, remember, we're ATH on ESPN on Instagram. Nothing with horn as the last 4 letters.
Do not enter that.
Pablo.